Mark Wilson. So you decided to make a Boston butt pork roast. I'm here to show you how to do it Southern style with a little bit of a Cajun flavor to it. It's going to be just as simple as a nice relaxing day at the lake. Unless, of course, your best buddy decides he wants to impress a girl that he met at the lake, waxes this entire ski boat, especially the part where you step into, and you're the one who steps into it, completely does a 180, lands on the side of the boat, thinks your belt loop is stuck on the boat cleat, only realize it wasn't the belt loop. You make your way back into the back of the boat, only realize that the boat won't crank because he's been jamming all day. And you look in the back and realize you're taking on water because in his haste to leave, he forgot to put the plug in there. And then you go to the nearest emergency room and realize that they're shut down for the day. And then have to travel an hour and a half in the back of the boat because you're too stove up to get back in the vehicle. Yeah. This will be easier than that, I guarantee it. So one thing I do when I'm doing a long cook is get everything prepared the day before, outdoor wise. The last thing I want to be doing is fiddle farting around at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning on days that I've had a really long cook to try to get everything squared away. I like to just prep it ahead of time, get as much wood put out as I can, and have the smoker filled up and just ready to go, where all I've got to do is light the fire. So in this one, all I'm going to have to do is fairly simple. The way I had it built and designed. Throw some wood in there. You can see there's a bar in there. It's a natural gas feed. So tomorrow morning what I'm going to do is come out real early, turn on the gas, get the fire going, be all set. And I have the little red wagon that I believe Miranda Lambert may have sang about, all stocked up and ready to go with some more fuel for the smoker. So here's our Boston butt pork roast, bone in. And what I'm going to do is trim it. Now, you don't have to trim it. And quite frankly, for years and years and years, I never trimmed it. I took it out of the wrapper, washed it, threw it in some hot sauce, seasoned it, let it sit overnight, and then got to work. It turned out perfect. However, I'm going to trim this one up, and I'm going to trim it up because I've learned over the years, this whole piece of fat here at the bottom, I want the smoke to penetrate that. I want a big, giant, thick smoke ring around the entire thing. You can't get that if you have this layer of fat on there. So we're going to trim that off. We're going to trim off some of the small decal fat because you don't need it. And this isn't a brisket. Whatever you do to it, you're not going to really mess it up. Pork is the most forgiving piece of meat you will probably ever cook. It's almost impossible to over smoke it. It's fat, so don't throw it away. I'm going to show you what we're going to do with it when we're doing our cook. And there's really not a lot to trim off this. One question I get asked quite a bit is, what's the best knife to use? And I'll tell you this, use any knife that you feel comfortable with that's sharp. And that's really what it comes down to. I like to have about a half bottle full of hot sauce put in a bowl, and then put the pork roast in there, massage it around, and then let it sit for a couple of hours before I put the rub on it. And then once it's done that, it allows it to marinate. I do this, put it in the refrigerator and let it sit, and let all the sauces, the juices kind of get in there. Alright, so we want to save some of the rub for tomorrow. And I'll go over that process as well. But we want to put about 2/3 of this rub all over it. And in the rub are a couple of different things. Of course, put the rub all over it. You can see, you get a nice texture to it. Cover all sides of it. Make a nice thick crust, what we're going to get after we're done smoking this thing for hours. Really pack that in. All right. And back in the hot sauce she goes. You ready to get going on this? Let's start it. I see you're a little smarter than me this morning as you clearly decide to distance yourself some more. Alright, so we got everything loaded. What we're going to do is make sure we've got a clean smoke going. And we're going to go ahead and continue to cook this thing at about 225 for about 4 hours. And then we're going to pull it, wrap it, and we'll check on it in a little while. One question I get asked the most is fat side up, fat side down when you're cooking. And really the answer is fairly simple. The fattest part of the meat is what you want to use to protect the meat from the heat. Because when you're smoking things, you want it to go slow. And you want to protect the meat as much as possible. So in an offset smoker, the heat's going to come across the top of the meat and exit. You want the fat side up on that. If you're cooking in a vertical smoker, you want the fat side down to protect it from the blast of heat. It's that simple. So here's how we have our setup for our vertical smoker. Water pan underneath the meat. Put the residual hot sauce and rub that was left over in there. Put it right up under it. Helps the cook go a little faster. Puts more humidity into the smoker. Keeps the meat a little bit moisture. And then here's our Boston butt right here. See, you've got that nice bark forming on it. We'll go ahead and spritz it again. Now, when you do this, you definitely don't want to spritz the fat, just the meat. All right. That's what we're going to do with the fat that you cut off yesterday. And if you didn't, that's okay. It just makes a little bit of a difference, kind of pushes you over the top, gives you an extra special flavor of that most people have never tasted before. A question I get asked a lot is, does it matter what you're cooking it on? As long as it's something that you can control the temperature and control the level of smoke, no. Whether that be an electric smoker, which are great, whether that's an offset smoker, or whether that's a vertical smoker. Whether it's a vertical smoker, you could actually literally throw chunks of wood into it like I do that one. Doesn't matter. It really comes down to temperature consistency, consistency of smoke, and a clean smoke, and then how you prepare the meat, which you're going to do that's consistent across the board, and then the amount of time that you're going to cook. So you have to start monitoring really well and make sure that when it reaches a certain temperature, then you're prepared to pull the meat off and take care of it. It's not rocket science. We're talking about cooking here. Anybody can do it. It's just no different than anything else in life. It's just another skill. And I'm going to show you the simplest way how to do this one, no matter what you're cooking it on. Sides? You want me to teach people how to make sides? Do people normally have their own sides to go with everything? Okay. I guess I can do that. Plan is to make these short though. Okay. Yeah. look, if you want to learn how to make signs that's going to go with this thing today, I'll make another video. Click on it, and okay, sure. I'll put all the recipes listed in the description for you guys to follow if you want to. How's that sound? All right. I'm not done with this video, so hey, I'll see you in a little bit. All right, as you can see, that's it pulled out. You see the darkness, you can see the color, you can see the depth of the rub. And that thing is about as, it looks nice and dark. It's about as, has a nice dark depth to it as a Sturgill Simpson saw. Alright, it's time to wrap this thing up. Using the digital thermometer, we determined that it hit 140, which is our prime number that we were looking for. And now we're just going to roll her up. Make sure she is nice and tight as can be. None of this has to be perfect. Just needs to be tight. Get it nice and angled in like that. Closing those sides. Keep all that moisture in there just like that. So we got it nice and tight. Now we're going to cook it at 200 degrees for 12 hours. And what that's going to do is it's going to melt down those connective tissues and fill this thing full of immense flavor and make it to where it just basically falls apart when you touch it. It'll shred easily. Already got a lot of smoke in there, and I need to continue to smoke it. And we'll see you when I unwrap it. Alright, so it's been 12 hours. We're going to unwrap this thing and see how she turned out. Alright, so we've finished shredding it. At this point in time, do a taste test. If you want to be a little bit more spicy, what you can do is this. Add a little bit more of that rub that I asked you to hold on to. Sprinkle it on top of it. If you want it to be a little bit more saucy, which it should already be way more saucy than you need it, you can always add in some apple cider vinegar. You can add in some regular apple cider, or you can add in the hard stuff apple cider to give it an excellent flavor and taste to it. Alright, so got the buns, flavored with mayonnaise, give it extra flavor. It's just as simple as this. You get them nice and toasted. That's all there is to it. Pulled pork on the right, or red sauce, coleslaw, topped with some spicy pickles. On the left, Carolina sauce, spicy pickles, pulled pork, both sandwiches, mayonnaise toasted bun to perfection, and Mamie's favorite potato salad, and some of the best chips in the world. Hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you will enjoy it. So hope you enjoyed the pulled pork video. If you have any questions, feel free to hit me up at Cooking with Wilson. That's without the G, because I'm kind of country like that. Gmail, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, leave comments, whatever floats your boat. If you want to see more videos like this, like and subscribe. If not, eventually I'll get the hint, and we'll just kind of go from there. Or do you want them to like and subscribe? I also received some feedback that most people like this in landscape as opposed to portrait mode. I'll make that change. Most likely. I don't know. We'll see. No, we hadn't at that point in time. It was like early in the day, maybe 10:30. I don't think I remember it was a beautiful day, just like today. Not a cloud in the sky. It was just beautiful. Not a lot of wind. There was people out on the lake because it was a nice day. But yeah, so we got there. It was 4 of us. Got the boat in the water. The boat was looking beautiful because he had waxed it, especially the part you're not supposed to wax. I got in the tube. After we got in the water, got the boat in the water, and he went up and down, blaring his radio. Matter of fact, he turned the radio on the moment he got there, just blaring it. So eventually came to a stop, and yeah. So we came to a stop. I got pulled in, stepped in the back, stepped into the other part of the boat to get into it. And that's when I literally like flipped like this and landed on my side, kind of like hanging. And I thought, oh, everybody was like, what in the world? Are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. I mean, my side hurt. Just got slammed off the side of a boat. I said, yeah, my belt loop's just stuck. And then, you know, I lifted myself up to pull my belt loop off of it because I really couldn't see because it was like back here. And I realized really quick once I hit the water that that was not my belt loop, that I was stuck on the boat cleat. So, did it hurt? Did it hurt? Yeah, I mean, it didn't feel good. So, made my way into the boat. They pulled me into the boat. I was a little bit more cautious on the wax step up that time. Laid down and tries to crank the boat, and the boat won't crank. Okay, no need to panic. There's a lot of people out there, like we're going to drown or anything. You know, I mean, somebody's going to come around and help us out if we need to. I'm not profusely bleeding out or anything. It's a puncture wound. Not that I think any of us really knew a lot about those things at the time. So, can't get the boat crank. I look back because I'm laying on my chest, facing the front of the boat. I look back and I see that we're taking on water. In his haste to leave to go and find this girl he wanted to meet at the lake and impress her with his shiny boat, and it was a damn nice boat. He forgot to put the plug in, so now we can't get the boat cranked. We're taking on water, and I've got a hole in my side. No, I don't remember any of us freaking out. Well, he was kind of freaking out because he couldn't get the boat cranked. I guess he was panicking a little bit, but so eventually the boat gets cranked after he shut off everything and let it sit for a while. You know, I remember someone was waving down at other people as they were going by, and you know, people were just waving back like it's what you do at the lake. So eventually gets the boat cranked, get the boat tied up onto the trailer, pull out of there, and he was like, well, you need to get up front. And I'm like, at this point in time, I think it's like 30 minutes into it, I'm not moving. And so my buddy sat in the boat captain seat, and we stayed there, and we went to the local ER. Now he had some money, my buddy did, who owned the boat, and he was one of the few people that I knew that actually had like a cell phone, and this was like back in 1990 something. So we pull over, we get close, and I see the hospital, and he gets out of his vehicle, and he's pretty mad. And he's shouting, they're telling me that they're closed, and this is some BS. Yeah, I didn't know ERs could close either. As a matter of fact, I thought maybe he was joking. I didn't know what to take. He wasn't much of a prankster. But then this big guy comes out, waving his arms like this, screaming, "We're closed! We're closed!" So it's like, what do you do? I mean, we're young at the time, so we had no other option, and we went back to our hometown. It was like an hour and a half away. So at this point in time, he's like, "You've got to get in the vehicle and lay down." You know, I'm like, the thing sits 4 people. There's no way for me to lay down. At this point in time, I'm not sitting back up anymore. So we take the hour-and-a-half journey back home. I'm laying out on my chest with my buddy in the captain's seat. We may or may not have had a couple of beers. Memory's fuzzy on that one. Get to the ER in our hometown, and I promise you, that doctor who came in there, he was very old, but I promise you he smelled like he had like half a fifth of vodka. It just reeked. Comes in and says, okay, pull your pants down, I gotta take a look at this. And so I get a sheet on me. He's like, I'll be right back. I remember him stumbling out of there. Lady from the school, adult, I don't know why she was there, comes in and decides, well, let me see how bad this is. At this point, I've just got a sheet, and she proceeds to pull the sheet way far back. And he goes, isn't that nice? Doctor comes back in. He says, puts down two things in front of me. Now, I'm on my chest facing this way. So there's a bottle of rubbing alcohol, and there's a bottle of peroxide. And I'm like, he says, I got to clean it out. And the moment he says, also, hold on. And then he proceeds to shove his finger into my side to see how deep the wound is. And tells me, well, that's all the way down to your hip. Did not feel good. And I turned around and let him know, a little warning. He's like, yeah, well, I've got to clean this out. I said, well, you're going to use the peroxide, not the alcohol, right? He said, oh, yeah. I turned around and looked straight ahead, and there was a bottle of peroxide there, and the bottle of alcohol was gone. And no moment sooner than I realized that, did I feel the burn. Did it? Yeah, it hurt. Yeah. At the time, that was probably one of the most painful things I've ever experienced. And now it ranks about 10th on the list. But yeah, that hurt. That hurt quite a bit. And puncture wounds have to heal from the inside out, so there was a lot of time spent taking care of that thing, and I won't go into those details. Nobody wants to hear that. And that's the story of the waxed boat. It was such a beautiful day, too.